Hi, welcome to Holistic Health group session for April. And this month's topic is insomnia. So, before you get this treatment or you listen to this session, I would want you to take a quick sort of a review on how you're doing. So, you can put on a scale of 0 to 5 where your sleep issues are, what are your challenges, is it falling asleep, is it waking up at nighttime, is it broken sleep, is it exhaustion after long sleep, how are you doing mentally, emotionally, are there any aches and pains, how's your physical, mental, emotional health and your sleep. So taking a little bit of scan on all the different parameters and keeping a note for yourself to see how you are doing with these sessions. Then I would say after you've heard this session, 2 weeks later, reevaluate and see what has shifted for you. And I'll be happy to hear from you about any shifts, changes, or things that have not shifted for you. But awareness is the key. So can't recommend enough and emphasize enough how important it would be to take your parameters before and sort of write it down for yourself and take some notes on how you're doing in this moment, because the group healing sessions and distance sessions are powerful, and many times you need that before and after to relate and see how it is working for you or not. So sit comfortably, and all you need to do is just listen to the session. And the way distance treatments work, there is no barrier of time and space. Energy could travel instantly anywhere with intention. So with this treatment, my focus is to support you with sleep, having good quality of sleep, any level of insomnia. So we'll dive into the treatment, and I would tune into the group energy and see what shows up as a priority. So settle down, sit comfortably. If you like, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. And I'm going to tune in and see what shows up as a priority today, with this umbrella and the focus of this treatment to support with sleep. Now, firstly, I'm working on balancing the brain, balancing the left and right hemisphere of the brain, optimizing the flow of chi and communication. Now, many times these two hemispheres of the brain, they are not functioning optimum due to stresses of our life. So with this particular technique, I'm firstly focusing on optimizing the electromagnetic frequencies and addressing any cold spots. So I'll go ahead and tap out this technique, which is called brain balancing, which is also called cortices. I'm starting from the from the base of the head, covering the whole midline, while I'm tapping on head, heart, and gut. So BodyTalk treatments are all about activating the central nervous system through gentle tapping, which is all about making the corrections, gentle tapping on the heart brain to store it, memorize it, to integrate those changes, and a gentle tapping on the gut brain to assimilate it. So just take a few deep breaths, and I'm focusing on balancing the left and right hemisphere, optimizing the flow of chi and communication between these centers of the brain. So this particular technique, cortices, is on my website. I will link the video here. You can simply learn it and do it for yourself on everyday basis before you go to bed or even during the daytime. So this is to sort of run a reset on your nervous system. So we are balancing all the lobes of the brain, starting from the back to the front, and then the sides of the brain, which is also called the limbic brain. So you're going to hold the limbic brain and gently tap out head, heart, and gut. If you like, you can do this technique, or you can simply listen and it will still work for you as I'm working on activating this treatment. So firstly, brain balancing. Secondly, we are looking at circadian rhythms which are out of balance. So circadian rhythms, I'm looking at cortisol levels and serotonin, which should be at the peak when the body is working in good harmony between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is our sympathetic nervous system, and our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest repair mode, which is from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. It should be, the melatonin should be at peak, and serotonin and cortisol levels should be low. Now again, it's very common with our working on computers, reading, and a lot of artificial light, that our circadian rhythms are out of balance. So we are going to work with balancing that. So firstly, I'm working on balancing the pineal gland, which controls the melatonin, which switches on the sleep cycles, which sort of helps us to shift into this rest repair mode, which is parasympathetic nervous system at nighttime when we go to bed. So we are running a reset on our pineal gland by balancing it to the rhythms of sunrise and sunset. So as the natural daylight comes and goes, we are balancing the melatonin to be able to go on the peak, which is through the pineal gland at nighttime. So we're going to run a reset on the pineal gland. I'm also addressing hydration with easy water. Now, easy water is crystalline structure of water. It is exclusion zone water. It is H3O2. So we are specifically focusing on the crystals of pineal gland and bringing in this H3O2, which is easy water, the fourth phase of water, to support with hydration. As well as we are looking at optimizing the circulation to the pineal gland. So circulation is everything: blood, lymph, nerve, electrons, and bringing in all the chi and meridians, the flow of meridians through the chi. So with this piece of treatment, what we are focusing on is supporting the health of pineal gland by optimizing the circulation at the structural level, at the functional level, and at the consciousness level for the pineal gland, so it can function well, and hydration with easy water, and balancing it to the rhythms of sunrise and sunset. I'm also doing some emotional release work, and this is fear and anxiety, which sort of is very commonly impacting the pineal gland. So we are looking at releasing any emotions that are compromising the function of the pineal gland. Another piece of treatment that is showing up as a priority is we are working on this reticular activating center in the brain. Again, it's called RAS center. The function is to be able to support us with switching off from environment. So we can switch off, compartmentalize, zone out, and focus on something. Now, especially this center of the brain is pivotal for being able to switch off all the noises and stimulus around us so we can get to sleep. And what I'm picking up, there's hypersensitivity in this center of the brain. Again, stress and anxiety, dehydration, and it is the emotions that is keeping this hypersensitivity of reticular activating center, RAS center of the nervous system, which means it could translate for you in form of unable to switch off your thought patterns. It's like having that crazy thought patterns and worrying and non-stop thinking just before going to bed, and not being able to switch off because the center is not able to basically function optimum. So with this piece of treatment, what we are looking at is optimizing the rhythms, being able to bring in more of that alpha state of mind, which is its relaxed brain wave when you're just drifting off to sleep. So we're looking at running a reset on the nervous system. And this reset is about balancing the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a fight, flight, survival mode and rest mode. So we are able to switch off from the stresses of the day. I'm specifically working on some acupuncture points, and this is the middle dantian point, which is in the center. The lower dantian point, which is at the kidney adrenal complex. Now, when we overuse our adrenals by constantly producing stress hormones, this contributes to that adrenal fatigue. It's like, a car that's burning out all the fuel by using its accelerator and speeding up all day. So what I'm picking up, the common factor is that adrenal fatigue and constant surge of stress hormones. And what we are working on, balancing this lower dantian point, which is acupuncture points specifically to support, and I'm working on bladder 23, governing vessel 4, conceptional vessel 6, and linking it to the kidney adrenal complex to replenish this lower dantian point for energy and vitality, and to optimize the adrenal cortex. So another piece of imbalance that I'm picking up is adrenal cortex, which is constantly producing high cortisol, and the DHEA, which is the counter hormone, is completely low. So we are looking at running a reset on this whole lower dantian point, kidney adrenal complex, and the centers of the brain such as amygdala complex, which controls this fight, flight, survival mode. So we are looking at running a reset and rewiring the nervous system. So amygdala complex is the tiny centers in the brain, and this is all about scanning the environment, about stress, and setting up an alarm to keep us alive. Now, these amygdala complex very commonly can become hypersensitive to stress, which means it's setting off, it's looking for that fear or stress in the environment, constantly keeping you with the tone of stress and anxiety and overproducing that stress hormone. And that's what I'm picking up. Again, it's very common with the amount of stimulus that we have in our environment, the lifestyle we live in a modern society, not close to nature, not being grounded, and it is very easy for these amygdala complex to switch into this heightened survival mode. So we are looking at rewiring and repairing this whole neural pathways. And we are looking at rewiring the amygdala complex out, which is short-circuiting into this survival mode, high stress hormones, and being able to rewire it into tend and befriend mode, which is increased oxytocin and dopamine, which are happy hormone, which are relaxation hormones. So we're looking at running a reset. So every small stressor and stimulus from my environment just doesn't trigger that alarm and switch off that sort of a burnout symptom. It can be more about receiving help, giving help, and producing these happy hormones. So we're looking at running a reset. So we're working through the neurological pathways, which is through the vagus nerve. We are working through the hormonal pathway, which is through this ACTH hormone and cortisol levels. And we are looking at rewiring the amygdala complex more to the prefrontal cortex, which is your higher brain function, which is all about putting things into right perspective, which is not about instinctually getting into the fear mode. And another center of the brain, which is called septal area of the brain, which is the bliss mode. So we're looking at rewiring the nervous system to be able to put things into right perspective. And to do this, we are looking at setting up a filter on the nervous system, specifically the prefrontal cortex, which is a higher brain function, to look for all that stress and trauma from the past. So going back in time to specific aspect of your life which has been prominent with reoccurring stress. Now, many a times the stress is stored in the body mind, in the connective tissue, and those emotional charges are active. They are not synthesized, they're not processed, so the memory is stored with active emotional charges. So with this piece of treatment, what we are looking is like, setting up a trail for the nervous system to look for all that trapped emotional stress that is still active in the connective tissue, in the water molecules, and being able to surface it, synthesize it, So surface it, disassociate, synthesize, and release it. And we are bringing in this concept of vertical time. So our brain functions in two ways. One is horizontal time, which is generally our natural programming, which means a lot of old stuff, thinking, worrying, old traumas, wounds. That is the history, which is the past, and it could be fear and anxiety. So when our brain is split into past, present, future, it is living in this horizontal mind, which many times is the natural programming with our upbringing and environment. And with this particular treatment, what we are focusing on is bringing in vertical time, which is collapsing all that stresses of the past and future into this current moment, into this present moment. So it's rewiring the nervous system to be anchored into the present moment. And this is more about being in the state of flow, feeling more in harmony and rhythm of your life, being more in tune with the inspiration of your heart, and being able to collapse all the stresses. So we are looking at setting up this particular piece of treatment with the focus of rewiring the nervous system into the present moment. So you're more enjoying the journey and the process of life versus worrying, thinking, and being fixated to the end goal. So with this treatment, what we are looking at, we are addressing the belief systems, our perceptions, the emotional traumas, which in turn has affected or is affecting our neural pathways, why we have got this heightened stress, which in turn is impacting those circadian rhythms. So now I'm also working on another piece of treatment that is showing up as a priority, which is balancing the meridians, the yin and yang meridians. Now we have got 12 meridians, yin and yang, and there are certain meridians that are at peak at nighttime while we sleep, which is the gallbladder meridian, runs from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Then the liver meridian, which is at the peak between 1 to 3. 3 to 5 is the lung meridian, and 5 to 7 is the colon meridian. So what we are working through is various acupuncture points where these meridians are at the peak, and then it transits into the another meridian. So what I'm looking at is clearing the blockages and optimizing the sleep rhythms. So the different phases of sleep when we are going through these meridians and clearing any blockages. So optimizing the flow of chi through these core meridians. So the melatonin is going to the peak, which means getting into the deep, good quality of sleep, and the cortisol levels are low, so you don't keep waking up. So waking up at midnight or even going to the washroom at 3-4 o'clock is when the stress hormone is kicking in. So we're looking at balancing all that. I'm bringing in the concept of easy water to harmonize all the emotional stress and anxiety. So we are focusing on cellular hydration. Another piece of treatment that is showing up as a priority is earthing, grounding. So we're looking at optimizing the base chakra to be able to bring in that electron circulation to synthesize the excessive free radicals and draining out all that emotional charges and stresses into the earth element to neutralize it. So self-help, what you could do is make sure you're grounded, you are barefoot on grass, on sand. That would help, being in nature. And managing your lifestyle. So you're going to bed by 10 to 11 at night time, having early dinners so your system is not overloaded with the digestive system, which could affect your sleep. So those could be crucial lifestyle changes, having early meals, having a few hours of gap, and sleeping early. So every hour that you miss before midnight has got a detrimental impact on your health because your stress hormones are high, and which means it disturbs the whole good quality of sleep. Now sleep is where the repair regeneration takes place. So with this treatment, we are working on all these factors. Another piece of treatment that is showing up as a priority is gut health. We are working on optimizing the gut ecosystem and the gut microbiome, which plays a big role in sleep cycles and managing our stress. So we are bringing in the healthy microbiome community and optimizing the communication networks. So these different species of microbiome are functioning more in harmony, and there's homeostasis, the state of balance. As well as we're looking at optimizing the solar plex chakra with this consciousness of being able to digest, process, churn the stressors of life and being able to assimilate it, so we are more resilient to stress. So this is all the balancing that I'm picking up for supporting with sleep and balancing those circadian rhythms, as well as running a reset on this particular center of the brain, which is called SCN, supranucleus center of hypothalamus. And we are working on balancing the epigenetic markers, which are more like on and off switches that regulate the rhythms of sleep. So I'm running a reset on these epigenetic markers once we have addressed all the causative factors, which is the emotions, free radicals, and everything that has come up in the treatment. Okay, so now I just want you to take a few deep breaths, and I'm just working on integrating this session by activating the central nervous system. So once we have surfaced the treatment, the whole morphogenic field of this treatment is there, and we simply go ahead and activate it by sending those standing waves through the electromagnetic frequencies of the brain. So just take a few deep breaths, and if you like, you can tap on your head, heart and gut. To support with those corrections, to be able to integrate it and assimilate it. So we are looking at programming this treatment, addressing all those stresses, and harmonizing the nervous system. So I'm doing this energetic treatment, so you can listen to it anytime, and your innate wisdom is able to process it. So I hope you find this treatment valuable. So listen to the session. If you like, do the tapping to integrate it on yourself, and tap out your cortices. I will include the video in the bio. And check it out after week 10 days, how things have shifted for you. I'm sure this will help you with good quality of sleep. I'll be happy to hear some feedback from you, how these sessions are helping you. So if you'd like to know more about Body Talk, check out my website, follow my YouTube channel. I offer 20 minutes complimentary consultations to people who are new to Body Talk. So feel free to reach out, and have a good day. Bye.